Hey everyone, I'm Alisha and welcome to another video lecture. Today's topic is growth and development for childhood stage. So we shall discuss concept, stages and various aspects that come under this topic. We are learning this topic because the aim of education is to bring out desired changes in the learner. Changes take place in an individual due to learning and also due to natural growth and development. Development of proper attitudes, habits and patterns of behavior formed during the early years determines to a great extent how successfully an individual adjusts himself as he grows older. Since the task of the teacher is to bring about desirable changes in the growing child, knowledge about growth and development is very important. The aim of educational psychology and teacher education is to bring about all-around development in the lives of students. Let us try to understand the concept of growth and development. The term growth is purely used in the physical sense. It refers to the increase in size, length, height and weight. Changes in the quantitative aspects come under the domain of growth. Growth is a subset of the developmental process. Both the terms growth and development can be used for any change caused by maturation, learning, heredity and environment. Growth may be referred to describe the changes which take place in particular aspects of the body and behavior of an organism. Growth does not continue throughout life. It stops once maturity is attained. The changes produced by growth are the subject of measurement. They may be quantified and are observable in nature. For example, if we say that Renuka is 4 feet tall or Sam, a schoolboy, weighs 25 kgs, these are measurements. Height and weight can be quantified and stated in units of length and mass. The changes produced by growth are the subject of measurement. Development implies overall changes in shape, form or structure. It is a wider and comprehensive term. It describes the changes in the organism as a whole and not in parts. Development is a continuous process right from birth until a person exists. It does not end with maturation. The changes, however small, continue throughout the lifespan of an individual. The changes brought about through development cannot be measured directly. They are assessed through observation in behavioral situations, in real-time situations. Growth may or may not bring about development. For example, a person may grow in physical standards and yet have not developed fully. We can explain this best with a case of mental retardation. Development is also possible without growth. For example, some children do not gain weight or grow tall enough in height, but they do experience functional improvement or development in physical, social, emotional or even intellectual aspects. Both growth and development show differences, but in a broad and applicatory sense, both the terms are used to denote the changes in a person's physical as well as functional behavior. Changes like changes in size, proportion, disappearance of old features and acquisition of new features have qualitative as well as quantitative aspects, and hence growth and development go hand in hand with each other. Let us now try to know the stages of growth and development. If we include pre-birth period, the lifespan of a human being can be divided in the following stages. The first stage is prenatal or pre-birth stage from conception to birth. The second stage is infancy from birth to 2 years. The third one is childhood stage, which is from 3 to 12 years until the onset of puberty. And then we have the adolescent stage from the onset of puberty, say from 13 to 19 years. Followed next we have adulthood from 20 years and beyond, in other words from the age of attaining maturation until death. Childhood itself can also be further categorized into subcategories like newborn, young infant, toddler, preschooler, grade schooler and teenager. With respect to school education, the first and the last stage, that is prenatal and adulthood, does not really serve us purposefully, hence we shall focus our attention on infancy, childhood and adolescence only. So let us now try to understand the various aspects of growth and development. These are the following major areas in which a child undergoes development.
Physical development. Physical growth and development describes the physical as well as psychomotor changes in an individual. Then second we have intellectual development, which is the development of cognitive abilities.
The next one is emotional development. It refers to development and attainment of emotional maturity. Awareness of people's feelings, self-control, managing negative feelings are all good examples of emotional skills a child can possibly achieve with time. The next one is moral development. When children are small, they do not know the concept of right and wrong or good versus bad. This sense develops with time, and this itself refers to moral or character development. It refers to the child learning morality and ethics. Positive communication, pro-social behavior, honesty, politeness, and a safe and happy environment with good influences help a child to develop a good character. The next one is language development. Language is a communication system that involves using words and systematic rules to organize those words to transmit information from one individual to another. While language is a form of communication, not all communication is language. Language development includes the learning of language for communication and the development of various skills pertaining to linguistic skills, pertaining to language for effective communication. The next one is social development. At birth, the child is neither social or unsocial. A young child, however, at times is seen to be antisocial. When the child grows up, he develops some social behavior which makes him an acceptable social being. Social development can be defined by Herlock as social development is the attaining of maturity in social relationships. An individual's social and emotional behavior is so closely interlinked that feelings of jealousy, shyness, affection and sympathy, which are primarily regarded as emotional responses, can also be treated as social forms of behavior. That's the end of today's video lecture. I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel, who are watching my videos, who like my videos and who comment so positively on all my videos. I'm really grateful to you guys, and please do like, share and subscribe to my channel if you have still not done so. Once again, thank you for watching.